So, did I go live? Yes, I'm live. I should be live. So, F5 here, and I can see myself. Okay, so to test, and here, so I see the chat, live chat, and I'm seeing also all the previous chats. Okay. So I hear myself, and then when I'm talking to the microphone, it should be louder. Yeah, it's definitely louder, so I don't need microphone. Here now I can see chat. So this is English webinar, and here I don't have many followers for now, but it's growing. The numbers are growing and are larger, so this webinar will be more like a lecture, so I'll be talking, and if you have a question, just ask it on the chat. I have a second computer on my left side, so I can see what you're talking about, and the file that we will be working on is in the file description or on the top of the chat. You should also see it. Let's make it live. Okay, so like this I have, and I don't. Okay, but I have this power. So first of all, when we have the file, let's talk about rules. So this webinar is being recorded just like any live on YouTube should be, and the recording will be public available until Monday morning. This is for sure, and maybe because I'm still working with the number of subscribers, will stay for eternity, or until the YouTube is still exists. Then if you want to receive the file after the webinar, so with the all formulas and all changes I will be making today, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and you will find the proper link in the file description on, or if you have the file on the ing tab, the first here link is for English subscribers, and on the PL worksheet is for Polish subscribers, and this is my Polish background portfolio. So in Polish I have 4 books and 9 courses that are connected to Excel and also social media link, and since 2017 I'm Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, so I know about Microsoft Excel and similar tools. And I'm also making videos, sometimes I'm creating some posts and etc. But for now in English I have only this book, and it's available on Amazon. Okay, so going back to the rules, we can find this newsletter, and for free webinar you should express your gratitude with a like, thumbs up, or for the ambitious ones there's also the option to share, and this webinar so more people will learn about English, Excel. I'm working with my English, and this is also my work to improve my English, to be more precise and to be more fluent with English. Okay, so webinar include a challenge, and we'll be talking about at the end of webinar, and I will provide my solution for this challenge in the following weeks. in most cases on Tuesday or on Thursday, probably on Thursday. But until then you can try your solution. And the most important link to the file I was talking about this, you can find on the top of the chat and in the file description and the video description. Okay, so today we'll be talking about match and index function versus XLOOKUP function. So we'll be looking for something, and we will start on the left worksheet. We'll be looking for price, but this this time in most let's say it like this, in most cases the thing we are looking is in the first column to the left, but today the thing we are looking for is in the right corner, the right side, and based on the toy name we want to find the price. So in most cases the order is reversed, so let's make it like this, and just for now, so most cases the toy name, we're based on the toy name we want to find the price for this toy, and in most cases the toy name is on the left side of our small table of prices, and we are looking to the right based on the position of a toy name. But in this example the toys are on the left, and we have to look to the right to find the price. And because VLOOKUP always looks to the right, we cannot use it here, and today is the XLOOKUP and index and matches function. So we'll be looking for the prices, we'll be looking are there elements on the one list, on the other list, and we'll be choosing the column from which we want to took information. So not always the price, sometimes weight or other information. We'll be looking values in 2D, so on the crossover intersection with column and row, and we'll be summing by column and row, and we'll be looking based on 2 criteria, and those are all examples we'll be talking about today. And if you have a question you can ask it on the chat. And so first example, I was talking about this already, we are looking the value price, but we have to look it to the left. And before dynamic array Excel, we will be looking this with index and match combination. So let's start with match function, and in match function we are looking for a value. So the first argument of match function is a value we are looking for, and where we are looking this value, in the column or in the row, in the single column or in the single row. And our example is this small column F4 to lock, and comma, the last argument of match function means do we want approximate match, so the values are sorted ascending, or exact match. We can also have descending order, but in most cases is ascending order, or we want to exact match, so we are looking from the top of our column, so from the top or from the left if we have a row. Okay, so here we are looking for from the top, so we have to write here 0, and when the match function will find the value, and this is formatted as a pounds, but it's not really a pound, it's a 6 just 6 because it's a position of this toy, so a ship on this list. So here we have a ship and it's in the 6th row. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is 6. So in 6th row, when I copy the formula a bit down, we can see Teddy is in the first row, car is in the last, so in the 7th row, and once again Teddy. Okay, so we have a row where the value we are looking for is, but we don't want the row of this value, we want the price that is in the same row. So we can now just add index function that is looking at the array, so in our example at the column with prices, F4 to look it. And next we have second argument row number, and in the row number we have already the value from the match function, and sometimes we'll be also adding the column number, but in this example it's not needed because we have only one column. So index function will only return one value. So let's check it. The ship is in the 6th row and it's 43, and yes, we have 43 and we have the value results. Now we can multiply quantity and the price, and just double click to copy our formula down. We can check Teddy 76, yes, car 52, yes, doll 27. So we have proper result. We have found our price for current toy, and we want to find this price with XLOOKUP function, and this time we'll be only needing one function because XLOOKUP will find our lookup value. So once again, it's a toy, it will find our toy in the toy column, so this range F4 to lock it, and then it won't return the row number but will return corresponding value from the return array. So the second argument is the lookup array where we are looking for this value, and based on the position of this value, XLOOKUP function will return value from return array. So in our example, price F4 to lock it, so H2 to H8, and just close our formula. For now we don't need other arguments of XLOOKUP function. Okay, so we can put our formula in the cell and copy it down, and we have the same results. And now index and match and XLOOKUP give us the same result. If you have dynamic array Excel, in most cases you should use XLOOKUP function because it's shorter. We just using one function, and in index and match situation we need two function, more arguments. But when you don't have the newest Excel, it's most cases good choice because it doesn't matter if we add rows and columns even to our data. If we move our column with toy names to another column, the formulas still looking on the proper ranges, and thanks to that we have still proper results because XLOOKUP is looking in the single column and a single lookup array and single return array. So in both cases it's just one column, and also match function is looking in only one column, and index column is only looking at one column. And thanks to that, the changes I have made doesn't matter for those formula. Okay, we can go to the next worksheet, lists. I have two lists and I want to find if the element on the second list or the first, it doesn't really matter, is also on the another list, and we want to conditionally format cells that are on both lists. So we want to be more precise, we want to format those values from this list that are also on the first list in column A, and we have different options. And because I'm today talking about match, index and XLOOKUP functions, we'll be using a solution with those functions. And for the start, we will use the match function. I was talking about on the previous worksheet that when I'm looking for this value in the lookup array, so in a single row in our single column, for locate, then match function will return the position of this lookup value. But sometimes this lookup value match function won't find because there isn't a match there. For example, super wings, there isn't such positions, such element on the first list. So the match function will return an NA error. So doesn't exist in those cases. And for condition formatting, it's enough because when we have the position of the element, so for example Scooby-Doo is the third, it means the match function will return the 3, and Paw Patrol is second, so the match function will return 2, and Super Wings doesn't exist on the first list, so match function will return an A error. And for condition formatting, any number different than 0 means true, and error basically means false. So I can copy this formula with the equal sign, so copy, escape to exit edit mode, select this range on the home tab, go to condition formatting and new rule, use a formula, Ctrl V to paste my formula and format fill. Let's make it, I think it's green. Let's just choose the color you like and press OK, and once again OK. And we can see that when I see number, I see the change in fill color. When we see an N, oh yeah, so it's mouthful for me, it's masło maślane. Okay, so when we see an NA error, we don't see the difference with fill color, so the condition formatting wasn't applied. And we can see this in the all rows, and we can use match function for something like that. We can also use XLOOKUP function for this, so make in the other direction. So I will look for this value on this list, F4 to lock, F4 not F3, F4 to lock it, and then the return array. What can be a return array? I can also return the same value, and when I work with this way, I will find the value that are exactly in what I'm looking for. So the XLOOKUP function will return exactly the same thing I am looking for. And Now I have text. Unfortunately, condition formatting doesn't like text. For condition formatting, text doesn't exist as a formula result, so I don't the cells won't be formatted. So I have to add comparison, so equal sign if it equals to my cell, the value I'm looking for. And now I will be having an NA errors and the true value. So when we see true, the condition formatting will be applied, and when we see an error, the condition formatting won't be applied. So once again, edit mode, select whole formula, Ctrl C to copy, escape to exit edit mode, select the range, home tab, condition formatting, new rule, use a formula, and here Ctrl V, paste my formula and format, and like make it more blue, let's say. Okay, so okay, and now I can see here we have truth, and here also, so our cells were formatted. So we can't in both cases use those formula, but once again, not once again, this time match function is shorter because we don't have to add comparison to our operation. Okay, so this is our second example. We are going to the next, and this time we want to find price or weight based on the header, and we can change the headers here, so we have to be dynamic. So in index match case, we have to find the toy. So we are be looking at the price and weight columns. The toy column, it doesn't matter for us because we want to return price or weight. F4 to lock it. Then we need the row, so we want the toy position in our example. So we have to add match function, just like in our first example. So we are looking for this toy, this value on this list. F4 to lock it, and once again exact match, and we are closing match function. So we have row number, but now we have to specify column number because index function is looking at the two columns. So I have to look with match function for the header, so C1 cell, and I will only lock the row number, not the column, because for this example I'll be copy my formula one row to the right also, okay, to get different results. And I'm looking for this value in those headers here, and for lock it, comma, and once again exact match. This time, because I'm looking horizontally, I will start looking at values from the left. So if the weight is in the 1, 2, second column, the match function will return 2. But if we look for price, so the price is the first in the first column from the left. So when the match function find the value, will return its position. Okay, so just like that, I have ship weight is 1, and the let's copy this to the right, and I forgot to lock the ship, the toy name, so I have to F4 lock the column for the toy name, and now it should be okay. And I copy formula to the right. The ship costs 43 pounds, but I have to copy formatting for the weight, so it will be problematic because I will be changing values. So make a bit just let's make just more precision for him, and let's copy this formula down. Okay, so okay, I have to copy for now and this formula and Ctrl Shift down arrow. So now we are looking for the weight, and its correct weight. Ship weighs 0.6 kilo and it costs 43 pounds. When I change the column, I get different results. So it's once again because it's not proper formatting. The formatting isn't changing with the change of the column. I should choose the proper values. And how can we work with this with XLOOKUP function? So with index and match, we can find the row and the column number. But with the XLOOKUP function, when we are looking for a toy name on the list of all toys, F4 to lock it, we don't know which column we will return. So what now? We can for now return two columns. So let's select the whole range, F4 to lock it, and close the XLOOKUP function. And now the XLOOKUP function will return price and the weight of our toy. But we want here only weight. We can add one more XLOOKUP function to return the proper value. So one thing, if the XLOOKUP function in the array or in return array have more columns, or so in this it's horizontal, we are looking horizontally for a row. If we have more than one column, the XLOOKUP formula function will return more columns, but we want just one column from here. So what can we do? We can look up for the header, F4 to lock only rows, comma, and we are looking at the headers here in the small tab, and F4 here we can F4 to lock it with all dollars. And now we will return array from the first XLOOKUP function, and we can close our formula and copy it down. And now we have weight. When we change our for column name, we will have the price, but we have the formatting from the weight, so let's change it to weight and we have the proper results. And this choosing for the value from proper column is basically to the lookup. So let's try it once again, but a bit slower, and when I divide this on the single function. So let's start with index and match combination. First of all, I want to find the toy position in the header, so in our example in column A, and I can use find match function to find this position. So I'm looking for toy name, comma, in our lookup array, so in row headers. And because we won't copy this formula anywhere, we can just omit $signs, so we don't have to lock ourselves. And once again, 0 for exact match. So we choose orc as a toy, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the fifth row. So we have the row number. Now we want to find the color, so we are looking at the column headers, and once again we can use match function. We are looking for this value where in our lookup array, but in the case of match it should be single column or single row, and comma, exact match, and that's all. We have row number and column number, and when I change the color, the results changed. And now I can add index function. We are looking at the array on this range, so for all prices, and the row number from which we want to take out the value is in C11 cell, and the row column number is in C12 cell. And now we can see that the orc blue cost only 12 pounds. So based on the row number and column number, we have found the value that are intersecting from this on the intersection of the column, chosen column and row. And we can create one formula just like on the previous worksheet. We can't, if we don't have enough knowledge and experience with Excel, we can start by writing those single formulas, and then we can copy them without equal signs. So in edit mode, select whole formula without the first equal sign, copy, escape here, and in the place on for the second argument, so the reference to the C11 cells, we can press Ctrl V. So we are pasting this value, and once again I can copy the second formula, second match function without equal sign, so Ctrl C, escape in edit mode here, and instead of C12, Ctrl V. So we have to highlight all the reference because it's whole argument. We can just click on the proper argument name and Ctrl V, paste it. And now I don't need those formulas, I can delete them because I have one bigger formula for this. So for looking for the single value in the select row and column on the intersection here. So in this example 12, let's make a change, let's make red, it's 71, yes, and make it dull, it's 86, yes, once again correct. So let's try this once again with XLOOKUP function. So first of all, let's start by looking at this time columns. So I'm looking for red, the color, and where can I find this column? In the column header, so in B1E1 range, and as a return values I want those prices, and I can close my XLOOKUP function, and now the XLOOKUP function will return whole column based on the color I have chosen. So for example, for blue, we are starting with okay, 72, okay, 58 is from the index and match function. So this is for the XLOOKUP function. Okay, so I now want to find a single row from this whole column, so I can add another XLOOKUP function. This time I'll be looking for a toy name, so I'll be looking for a row position. Let's call this like this. So this time we are looking for toy in the lookup array. No, here. So this is our lookup array, row headers, and we will return value from return array. So it's a one column from our previous XLOOKUP, and now we have only one value. And when I change the number of digits after the dot, we have the same results. Okay, can see we have the same results, and we can test it. Let's make it car blue 57. It's correct. Okay, so in this example, I think index and XLOOKUP, so index and match and XLOOKUP are on very the same difficulty, but it's maybe a bit easier to understand that in the index match case we're just looking for row number and column number, because with XLOOKUP function it isn't really easy to understand what we are looking for, at what are we looking at when we first return for this time I choose to return column and then find the row, but we can also first return a row and then choose the column. The order we are using here, it doesn't matter. The matter is the last results is the important for us. Okay, so when we are looking at the tables or reports like that, sometimes we want return the sum, and from in our example will be as the sum from the column or row we chose based on the value we have chosen. So if I choose night, I want to sum this row. If I choose country Poland, I want to sum this column. And with XLOOKUP we already see that this function will return many values when I'm looking for night in all headers, row headers, I can, as a return array, select 2D range, and in those examples, those cases, XLOOKUP function will return whole row, and when the function return whole row and I want the sum for whole row, I can use just sum function to sum the values here. And something similar is in the case of index and match function. So in index function I can look at array, the whole prices array, so whole income, sales array range, and I want to return the row number. But this time in the index function we are looking at the 2D range, so we have many columns here and we want to return whole rows. And when we just find this row number, so using match function based on the B11, I can find the row that I want to look at. When I find this toy and this range, the position, and 0 to exact match. And I'm not putting anything in the column number. And now index function will have a problem, but I can't write the comma here, and in most cases I will write here 0. I can also don't write here anything, and the index function will return whole row, but I prefer to write here 0, so I am and now I understand I want to return whole row, all columns, so I'm not specifying any columns, and I have all rows, all whole row, all columns. And just like in XLOOKUP function, we can sum this up, but I'm not sure because I'm working with dynamic array Excel for a few years now, and I don't remember if this solution needs some product function for not using Ctrl Shift Enter. I'm not sure. I don't think, because index function should return range, and we should just sum it up based on the range value. Some function should return proper result even without Ctrl Shift Enter. But if doesn't return the same result, you can put this formula with Ctrl Shift Enter, or just use some product function, and some product function just work with arrays, and it doesn't matter when even if we don't have dynamic array Excel. In this example, some product function will work and will give us the proper results. Okay, so this time we want to sum from the whole column, and the situation is basically the same, but this time we are looking for columns, not for rows. So XLOOKUP function, we are looking for this country in all country headers, and based on that we are returning values from this range. So when the XLOOKUP function will find Poland, will return a bit big this column, this range, and we can see we have this column, so just sum function and we have the proper result. So the sum from this column. And index function is a bit more complicated because we are starting with this array, and now we have to put the row number. So here we have to remember, here we have to put 0, not in the column number, now in row number we are putting 0, so it means we are interested in all rows. It doesn't matter, so all rows, whole column. We just now to put the column number, so the match function is looking for this value in all column headers. It's all country list, and yeah, this is all. This is this range. So to be safe, some product function and add the last parentheses, and just like that we have the same results. So format painter, and we can see the same result. We can change the toy, we can change the country, and we once again we have sum for this all row and columns, all equal signed, and we can also add the sum for any row and column, and we can see for Germany is 71,000 and something, and for doll we can see it's 67,000 and something pounds. So we have the proper results. We have found the sum from the whole column or from the whole row. Okay, so we can go to the last example to criteria. And how can we find value in our example, the price, based on two criteria? So our product doesn't, we need something more than product name, because our product name have variances, and based on the product name it are different variances, different combinations, and the most important, the price is different. So based on two criteria, two values, we want to find the price, the value we are looking for. And the first example, the first solution here is just combine two values. So in the helper column I just combine product ampersand, and I add here the pipe, so we will divide those two values, so we can see that we have actually two values, two combined values here. And for Excel this step isn't necessary, but we want to see those two values separately. Okay, so I combine those two values in the helper column, and in the price list I also have to combine in the exact way, so with this pipe, with this vertical line, and ampersand and this one. Okay, and when we have this helper column, the task is really simple, because it's just finding the proper row. So in this example we will use the index and match function. So I'm looking at the prices, so this row column F4 to lock it, then comma, and I need the row, so match function, to find this value in the helper column, in this helper column in the price list. F4 to lock it, comma, 0, exact match, we are closing match function, we are closing index function, we have proper results. Just copy it down. And metal bronze is 50 pounds, metal silver 25 pounds. So we just found this proper value. Okay, so it's one solution, and basically in a XLOOKUP function will be the same, but we will use XLOOKUP function in the second example where we don't have the helper column, we cannot use it. So we will create this helper column inside our formula, inside our XLOOKUP function. So I'm looking for what those two values combine, so product and substance. And now I won't add this pipe. It's Excel doesn't need it. It was only for our convenience, so we see that actually there are two values combined together. We can see where the one stops, ends, and so we can see when the one ends and the second starts. And in this formula it isn't necessary for us, and it definitely isn't necessary for Excel. So I combine just two cells, but in a lookup array I have to combine two arrays. To be more precise, I have to combine two columns. So this column with the product names for lock it, ampersand, and this column with the substance name F4 to lock it. And just like that, let's make it F9. We have combined all rows, so we have a list that combines values from each row separately. So make it like on this. So because we have columns with the same height, the values we are combining are on the same height in the same row. So for example, I combine cup silver, cup gold, cufflinks silver, and so on. Only one combining in the one row. And thanks to that, I can now add the return array as our price list. So this column F4 locked. And because XLOOKUP function is in dynamic array Excel, it doesn't need Ctrl+Shift+Enter. All formulas can be array formulas. So Ctrl+Enter and copy our formula down. Cap gold, yes, it's 200 pounds. So we find this proper value. And now I want to show the last solution I have prepared for this example. And I can look at my data and realize that when I combine those two criteria, there is only one row in our price list. So I can just sum the prices with two conditions. So I can use SUMIFS function, and this range I'll be summing up F4 locked, comma, the first criteria range, let's make it a product, so this range F4 locked, comma, and criteria, because it's equal, I can just refer X3 cell, comma. Now the second range on which we are looking, checking our criteria, and this time it's this column F4 locked, comma, and now we are looking at the substance. So this substance should be up here, and only one row is returning values, returning true for our two criteria. So we can close our SUMIF function, put in the cell, and copy it down. And check, let's check this row, for example, Cuffings diamond, 970 pounds. And yes, this is correct results. We can also see that in different rows we have also correct results. So we can see that even when I start with only index and match function, that's not the all possible ways to resolve our problems, get the proper value. But in most these cases, these examples, index and match versus XLOOKUP are quite compared on the same level. But we have to remember that today we didn't talk about further XLOOKUP arguments. So we have here if not found, so built in if error function, something like that. We can change the match mode, and we can also find values from the end of the list, not always from the start of the list. So XLOOKUP function have more possibilities just by simple combining index and match. But if you don't have XLOOKUP function, index and match are good friends for you. They will be good friends for you when you are looking for values. Okay, at the end I want to talk about the challenge, and in this challenge, based on the product name and the quantity, we want to find the discount. But the problem is that depending on the product, we have different tables, ranges for discount. So for Teddy, we have to look at this range. To be more precise, this range, because headers are not important when we are looking for discounts or values based on appropriate match. So for airplane is this range, do this range and ship this range. So we have to choose proper ranges to find proper discount, and this is challenge for you. And in the next week I will record proper video with my solutions. Okay, and that will be all for today. Remember to to add a like for this video, and for the ambitious ones that are watching me, so to also add a comment and also share this video. Okay, because I'm still working to make more viewers. I will be ending this webinar now, and let's see you next time. Once again, if you want this end file, just sign up for the newsletter. You can find the proper link on the ENG worksheet or in the video description.